In this module, we will continue our discussion regarding to data security and integrity, and we will focus on data breaches. Furthermore, we will analyze the application of security and integrity in adult learning.
A data breach involves the intentional or inadvertent exposure of confidential information to unauthorized parties. In today's big data era, the risk and potential consequences of such breaches are higher than ever, making it one of the most pressing security concerns despite intensive research efforts. Data breaches can be categorized into two main types of adversarial attacks. The first type involves attackers accessing raw information to tamper with data analysis or obtain sensitive data for illegal purposes. The second type targets processed or analyzed information extracted from multiple data sources. In both scenarios, individuals risk having their sensitive information, personal data, and other confidential details, such as credit card numbers, exposed to malicious users or the public. EU Regulation 1725/2018 mandates that all European institutions and bodies report certain types of personal data breaches to the European Data Protection Supervisor, EDPS. The EDPS is the EU's independent data protection authority, overseeing the processing of personal data by European institutions, bodies, and agencies, EUIs. According to this regulation, EU institutions must report breaches within 72 hours of becoming aware of them, where feasible. If a breach is likely to pose a high risk to individuals' rights and freedoms, the affected individuals must be informed without unnecessary delay. Additionally, EU institutions are required to have mechanisms in place for the prevention, detection, investigation, and internal reporting of personal data breaches. They must also ensure effective responses to mitigate the negative effects on individuals whose data has been compromised. Furthermore, EU institutions must keep detailed records of all personal data breaches, regardless of whether they are required to notify the EDPS. According to the guidelines on personal data breach notification for the European Union institutions and bodies published by the EDPS, every personal data breach is considered an information security incident. The first step is to assess whether personal data is affected. If it is, the incident is classified as a personal data breach. Upon any indication that a security incident might impact personal data, the data protection officer must be immediately consulted. Once confirmed as a personal data breach, the next step is to evaluate the potential impact on individuals' rights and freedoms. The European Union institutions, EUIs, must objectively assess this impact to determine their notification obligations as controllers. EUIs are required to have their own breach management policies, which should include procedures for assessing the impact of each breach and defining roles and responsibilities for notifying the EDPS and affected data subjects. It is crucial for EUIs to ensure a correct risk assessment, which triggers the notification to the EDPS and possible communication to the data subjects. If a breach is deemed low risk, the controller does not need to notify the EDPS or the data subjects, but this decision must be documented for verification purposes. Additionally, EUIs should provide guidance on assessing the risk level in case of a personal data breach. Finally, EU institutions must report personal data breaches to the EDPS within 72 hours, unless the risk to individuals' rights and freedoms is considered unlikely. Furthermore, according to Article 35 of the regulation, if a personal data breach results in a high risk to the rights and freedoms of individuals, the European Union institution, EUI, must also communicate the breach to the affected data subjects. In all cases, the controller is responsible for mitigating the effects of any personal data breach, particularly the impact on the data subjects. Data breach notification obligation follows a risk-based approach. In the event of a data breach, the severity must be assessed based on the risk to the rights and freedoms of natural persons, with DPIA risks serving as a starting point. If the risk is high, communication with data subjects is required. Otherwise, only the supervisory authority needs to be notified. When assessing the risks, several factors should be considered, including the type of breach, the nature, sensitivity, and volume of personal data, the ease of identification, individual characteristics, the special characteristics of the data controller, and the number of affected individuals. DPIA risks can assist in this assessment.